Alright. So I'm sure all of you guys have someone that you trust with all of your secrets. Someone that you tell and talk to about just about everything. Even your deepest, darkest secrets, your concerns, your home life, your work life, even the superficial things like who said this and this and this. But have you ever considered what the other person was thinking when you were telling them? Sometimes people start to blab and talk and do nonstop talking and doesn't actually consider what the other person is saying or thinking or saying, and you become a bore. According to Ambrose Bierce, a bore is a person who talks when you want him to listen. Not only is the person that you tell everything to, but you also have parents. Switching the perspective around, you also have your parents who, when you do something wrong, you go to them and they get mad at you and all they do is blah, 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 and talk your ear off about the things that you should have done and the things that should have been going on that you should have done. But do they hardly ever ask or listen to your side of the story? Probably not, because parents think that that's what is best because they've already been through the situation, so they don't really care what you have to say. And halfway through the lecture, you start to zone out and daydream and don't really gather all of the knowledge. You also have friends who do about the same thing. You talk their ear off, they talk your ear off, and you find yourself zoning and drifting off. This is the definition of a bore. When you start drifting off and you don't really understand, like you don't pay attention to what they're saying and you don't really grasp the concept. A personal example of mine, I have a friend named Ben. We talk on the phone a lot, and recently I've gone through a lot of stuff. I'm not 100% in the mood to talk to him and tell him about this stuff, but then he starts blabbing on about cars, about his life, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I'm just done. I'm so annoyed, and I'm just done listening to him, so I end up making up a lie and saying, okay, I'm going to bed now, bye, and then I hang up. But a friend shouldn't be that. It should be a back and forth communication, something that is deep and personal and means something to you, and instead of just having it one-sided, it should be two-sided. Thank you.
I kind of like the visualization you have at the beginning, and it brings us together. And when you introduce the topic, it's pretty clear. You've got a kind of rhetorical question that you use to tell us what the answer to the topic is going to be. I like that. Your point of view needs to be a little bit sharper. It sounds like most of you are agreeing with Ambrose Bierce, so that's something that you ought to say. There's not really much of a preview, although it does sound like you've got the supporting material divided into the two components, talking with your parents and talking with a friend. The example of talking with your parents stays fairly abstract, and it seems to kind of go around with pretty mundane visualizations. You don't get an interesting story, you just get sort of the stereotyped version of ideas. I thought the example with your friend was a lot more interesting because it's something specific and you're talking about it, and you talk about it from your own reaction too, and it worked pretty well with the thesis that you were ultimately going to go with. Presentation issues, your voice is up, it projects, there's a lot of variety there. I think it's paced about right, although you finished a little early, so probably some more details on that first point. Maybe a third point would have been a good idea to have as well. Your facial expression and your gestures are very animated. You seem engaged, and even though the gestures sometimes seem to be a lot, you're doing that for effect, and so I thought it worked pretty well. Your eye contact with the audience is excellent, so no real problems there. Maybe a little bit of movement issues for anxiety, but that would be the only place that, maybe the gestures, for instance, and some of the foot movement would suggest some anxiety, but it was not anything that I thought was noticeable or problematic. I did think that the conclusion of the speech came up and it was a little bit abrupt. There ought to be more transition to the exit, and don't forget to come back and tell us what it is we're supposed to have gotten out of your idea and remind us the point that you're trying to make. Leave us with a better impression, and that to me was the weak part of the speech, even though there were some good delivery issues. I think it hurts a little bit when you leave with that sort of quick offstage movement. All right. Thank you.